Yarning about hearing.
Deafness it's something that has to be treated not just by doctors and not just by nurses and that, but it's treated by families and communities and schools and your workplace and that. The whole thing needs to be treated, dare I say the word, holistically. And that's how you beat a problem like this. So you have to communicate with people and say, look, I am deaf. I've found that just by telling people and being honest and upfront. It's a lot easier now that I'm older, but because, you know, like when I was younger, it was shame job. But I'm over the shame job. Shame job, when it comes to deafness, is one of the biggest hurdles that you got to get over. Don't be shamed because you're deaf. You know, we have every right to have good hearing, to have good health, to get an education, to get a job. And if your deafness is going to stand in the way, that will knock it on the head. You can fight deafness. If you're a parent with a deaf child, take the time out to learn mechanisms to deal with it. If you're a carer or a friend of a deaf person, take that little bit extra time out just to make sure that they're included in conversations. You know, when you talk to your friend who might have poor hearing or be profoundly deaf, include them. The eye contact, the touching, all these little things that make you feel a part of it. When you're deaf and you're sitting there and there's a conversation going on around you, nobody's bothering to talk to you. Oh, what do you think, Russ? That's when you start becoming alienated. And one thing I can tell you about deafness is it's a great alienator.
I wouldn't know what perfect hearing was, but I do compensate for it. The television has to be loud. If I listen to iPods or things like that, or iPads on planes, I use earphones that have individual sound settings or volume settings, so I turn one up.
So some things as simple as that, as writing it down or closing a door when you're talking to them, or putting yourself in a position where they're able to see your face clearly, so that, I mean, I know that people with a hearing loss, they look at a lot of things. It's just they're not listening just with the ear. They're looking at your face. They're looking at your lips when you're talking. And countrymen, real good at looking at body language too. So if your body language is showing something, it doesn't matter what the words have said.
I've compensated by learning to see how people's words are formed on their lips. I'm not a great lip reader, but I can read lips. I often tell people to look at me when they talk to me. I'm not rude when I say it, because in some cultures it's shame job to look people directly in the face. Especially like if I'm dealing with some of my remote-based family and countrymen and that, I explain to them, look, I'm not being rude, I just can't hear you properly. So if I'm looking at you, it's not because I'm trying to steer you down, I'm just reading your lips.
Smaller groups are better. I find that easier to concentrate on with the hearing. I tend to also rely on emails a lot. Phone calls, always going to have to make sure my phone's turned up. If I can't hear on the mobile, I'll always say I'll call you back or at a later time because I'm not getting a good reception, or I'd avoid the phone and go straight to the email.
I have to ask people to not mumble or when they talk, because some people, they talk like that, and it's really hard, like, especially if someone's got a high-pitched voice. Like I said, I can hear the bassy noises or the lower, but if for a little kid or something, if they're calling out, I can't hear so it gets really frustrating. So like I said, it's all about just, I ask them to understand and to look at me and talk to me. Also, it takes time. You've got to keep on reinforcing this with people. You can tell them once and you come back the next time, they've forgotten. But if you keep on giving that message saying, look, brother, sister, I can't hear properly, so you're going to have to talk to me directly, get my attention, and please don't mumble.
You know, in life, There's going to be disappointments. There's going to be knockdowns. There's going to be knockbacks. There's going to be, it's a roller coaster ride, really. And the most important thing is that once you fall off that horse, you dust yourself off straight away and get back on straight away. Because if you let that get on top of you, it can grind you down into the dirt after a while, and your self-esteem, your confidence goes down. And I find that there's a turnaround time, and if I don't pick myself up by that afternoon after I've thought it through and actually go back and face it again in the morning, I find that easier to face it in the morning for myself, to pick myself up, to get back on that horse, just to keep going, rather than just fall into that lull of, okay, I'm defeated. So it's always constantly being aware that you have to fight.
By admitting that you're deaf and showing people that you're deaf, I think also gives you a certain amount of control over the problem. By hiding it and being shamed about it, people can't help you that way.